Good morning, everyone. The program will begin in about 2 minutes. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the annual Memorial Day program. My name is Taylor Jans, and I'm the Beadle County Veteran Service Officer. The Veterans Council represents the County Veteran Service Office, the Huron American Legion and Auxiliary, the VFW and Auxiliary, and the South Dakota National Guard. We, the members of the Huron Veterans Council, want to remind you that Memorial Day stands as a solemn American tradition that honors the sacrifices of those who served. It is a day we dedicate to those who fell in defense of the ideals, beliefs, and values we hold sacred to our hearts. America has been blessed as no other country in the history of the world has ever been. The sacrifices of our armed forces have given us the security and the freedom to grow and flourish as a nation. Throughout our nation's history, the freedoms that we enjoy have been won and protected by an elite group that understands the greatest and most selfless love. The men and women of our armed forces risk the ultimate sacrifice to protect our fellow Americans and citizens of the world from tyranny and oppression. Every time they put on the uniform, these heroes renew their commitment to pay any price, to bear any burden, so that we may not be free. Let their remembrance be as lasting as the land that they have honored. And now, all who are able, please rise for the posting of the colors. Staff Sergeant Hoff with the South Dakota 153rd Engineer Battalion of the Guard will post the colors. And I will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. My name is Keith Zalubkowski, and I'm honorably replacing Keith McMillan, who is a little bit under the weather for today there, so I am gladly going to do the invocations and also the benedictions later. So just keep Keith in your prayers and your thoughts. A prayer for gratitude of those who served. Oh God, we give you praise to these people who have allowed us to serve and worship you in freedom. We do not take for granted that there are millions of Christians around the world afraid of prison and even death because of what they believe or what we believe. Our veterans are a significant reason why we do not fear, and we thank you for them. Amen. We thank everybody that worked the poppies and gave to us at all our stores last Friday and Saturday. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
You may be seated. As you entered the auditorium this morning, you have noticed a small table on the stage. It is set for one. This table is our way of symbolizing the fact that members of our comrades in arms are missing from our midst. They are commonly called prisoners of war or missing in action. We call them brothers. They are unable to be with us today, so we remember them. The official U.S. POW MIA flag resulted from the efforts of family members to display a suitable symbol that made the public aware of their loved ones who were being held prisoner or declared missing during the Vietnam War. The POW MIA Missing Man Table Ceremony is a dignified and solemn moment in many formal dinners and other occasions. There have been many different narratives written for the ceremony, but the symbolism is quite constant. It involves a table set off to the side with a single chair. The table is set with a white tablecloth and a single lit candle, a Bible, an inverted wine glass, and a single red rose in a vase, which is tied with a yellow ribbon. And the table is a plate containing a slice of lemon and a small amount of salt. There's nothing more poignant than witnessing the empty chair sitting at the POW MIA table with incredible significance for every displayed feature of this ritual. Witnessing the ceremony that accompanies this memorable event brings more than just a single emotion. I would like now to explain the meaning of the items on this special table. The table is round, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against his oppressors. The tablecloth coming out is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their nation's country call to arms. The single red rose reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep the faith, awaiting their return. The yellow ribbon around the vase symbolizes our continued uncertainty, hope for their return, and determination to account for them. A slice of lemon reminds us of their bitter fate, captured or missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the family's tears as they wait. A candle, which is lit, reflects the upward reach of their unconquerable spirit. The Bible is a book of faith to represent the strength gained throughout devotion to sustain those lost from our country. The wine glass, which is inverted to symbolize their inability to share a toast. The chair is empty. The chair is empty. They are missing and no longer with us. Some here in this room were very young when they joined the service. However, all Americans should never forget the brave men and women who answered our nation's call and served for the cause of freedom in a special way. Please let us remember America's POWs and MIAs to the success of our efforts to account for them and to the safety of all those who are now serving our nation.
Logan's orders, General Order Number 11. General Order Number 11, Washington, D.C., May 5th, 1868. The 30th day of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing the flowers and otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in the defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, hamlet, churchyard in the land. In this observance, no form of ceremony is prescribed, but post and comrades will in their own way arrange such fitting service and testimonials of respect and circumstances may permit. We are organized comrades, as our regulations tell us, for the purpose, among other things, of preserving and strengthening those kinds of fraternal feelings which have bound together the soldiers, sailors, and Marines who united in the suppress of the late rebellion. What can aid more to assure this result than cherishing tenderly the memory of a heroic dead who made their breast a barricade between our country and its foes. Their soldiers' lives were the reveal of the freedom of a race of chains, and their deaths of tattoos and rebellious tyranny in arms. We should guard their graves with sacred village. All that are considered wealth and taste of the nation can add to their adornment, and security is but fitting tribute to the memory of the slain defenders. Let no wanton foot trend rudely on such hallowed grounds. Let pleasance pass, invite the coming and going of revert visitors and found mourners. Let no vandalism or neglect, nor ravages of time testify to the present or to the coming generations that we have forgotten as the people that the cost of free and invited republic. If other eyes grow dull, other hands slack, other hands cold in the solemn trust, or ours shall keep it well as long as the light and warmth of the life remains to us. Let us then, at the time appointed, gather around their sacred remains and garland the passionate mounds above them with the choicest flowers of springtime. Let us rise above them the dear old flag they saved from dishonor. Let us in solemn presence renew our pledges and aid to assist those who have left among us scattered change upon a nation's gratitude. The soldiers and sailors, widow and orphan. It is the purpose of the Commander-in-Chief to inaugurate the observance with the hope that it will be kept up year to year, while a survivor of war remains to honor the memory of the departed comrades. He earnestly desires the public press to lend its friendly aid to bring to the notice of comrades of all parts of the country the time of stimulus compliance within. Department commanders will use this effort to make this order effective. By John A. Logan, Commander-in-Chief.
And now the Scout troops will come out here and do a display of the 13 folds of the American flag. Most Americans have seen the traditional folding of the American flag at specific events such as funerals. Have you ever wondered why Old Glory is folded that specific way? Much more than just pomp and circumstance, each of the 13 folds holds special meaning. The portion of the flag denoting honor is the canton of blue containing the stars, represents states our veterans served in uniform. The field of blue dresses from left to right and is inverted only when draped as a funeral cloth over the casket of a veteran who served our country honorably in uniform. In the U.S. Armed Forces, the ceremony of retreat, the flag is lowered, folded in a triangle and kept under watch throughout the night as a tribute to our nation's dead. The next morning it is brought out and at ceremony of reveille flown high as a symbol of belief in the resurrection of the body. The flag folding ceremony represents the same religious principles on which our great country was originally founded. The first fold of our flag is a symbol of life. The second fold is a symbol of belief in eternal life. The third fold is made in honor and remembrance of the veteran departing our ranks and who gave a portion of his or her life for the defense of our country to attain peace throughout the world. The fourth fold represents our weaker nature. As American citizens trusting in God, it is Him we turn to in times of peace as well as in times of war for His divine guidance. The fifth fold is a tribute to our country. In the words of Stephen Decatur, our country in dealing with other countries, may she always be right, but it is still our country, right or wrong. The sixth fold is for where our hearts lie. It is with our heart that we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold is a tribute to our armed forces, for it is through the armed forces that we protect our country and our flag against all enemies, whether they be found within or without the boundaries of our republic. The eighth fold is a tribute to the one who entered the valley of the shadow of death, that we might see the light of day, and to honor our mother, for whom it flies for on Mother's Day. The ninth fold is a tribute to womanhood. It has been through their love, faith, loyalty, and devotion that has molded the character of men and women who have served this country great. The 10th fold is a tribute to Father, who has also given his sons and daughters for the defense of our country since he or she was first born. The 11th fold represents the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon and glorifies God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold represents an emblem of eternity and glorifies God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. The 13th and final fold, when the flag is completely folded, the stars are uppermost, reminding us of our national motto, "In God We Trust." After the flag is folded and tucked in, it has an appearance of a cocked hat, ever reminding us of the soldiers who served under General George Washington and the sailors and Marines who served under Captain John Paul Jones and were followed by their comrades and shipmates in the U.S. Armed Forces, preserving us their rights, privileges, and freedoms that we enjoy today. The source and date of origin of the flag folding procedure is unknown. However, some sources attribute it to the Gold Star Mothers of America, while others to an Air Force chaplain stationed at the United States Air Force Academy. Some sources also indicate that the 13 folds are a nod to the original 13 colonies. The flag folding ceremony is provided as a patriotic service. Traditional gravesite military funeral honors include the silent folding and presentation of the U.S. flag, 3 rifle volleys, and the playing of taps. Let's all give the Scouts a round of applause for their wonderful work. And now for our Memorial Day address given by Ron Valesky.
That's it? That's my introduction? No. My friends, let me only say this to begin with. All gave some, and some gave all. I could sit down. This hallowed occasion, where we come to honor those who gave all that we might be free. I think of this occasion, and I think what a special day it is. I think of the 4th of July, the birthing of our nation. But this nation would not have stood the test of time had it not been for the brave men and women who went off to war, and many of them never returned. I sat at our kitchen table this morning. I was prepared to bring a long speech today, but I'm going to spare you that. I don't want to be like that person who was invited to speak for 15 minutes, and he spoke for 30 minutes, and then he spoke for 45 minutes, and then he spoke for an hour, and the man who invited him became so exasperated that he picked up the gavel, threw it at the speaker, missed the speaker, and hit a lady in the front row. And she hollered out, "Hit me again, I can still hear him." I'll be short. I wrote down just a few things. I said, the American spirit. Then I wrote the word shoulders. Then I wrote the name Ted Spaulding. And then I remembered an incident that happened some years ago down in St. Louis, Missouri. It was reported and written in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. That spring, the rains were heavy. They came and the floods became to that town, to that city. And when the waters receded, the banks of the mighty Mississippi had turned literally to quicksand. It's a story of twin boys, David and Billy. 6 years old, it was reported. And the news went out, don't go near the river. Well, boys will be boys. And then they set off for school, and they were supposed to come home at 3 o'clock, and they weren't there at 3 o'clock. They weren't there at 3:30. And the mother became very worried. It was 4 o'clock. It was 4:30. She called her husband and said, Billy and David aren't home. The twins aren't home yet from school. I'm worried. I'm wondering if they went down by the river. And the father came home, and the police were called, and the first responders came, and the fire people came, and the search was on. And the father went down by the river. The sun was leaving the sky. And he looked, and there was one of the twins. There was Billy. Billy was in that quicksand up to his chest, and his father ran to him with all his might, and he said, "Billy, Billy, where's David?" And Billy said, "Dad, he's right here. I'm standing on his shoulders." Today, my friends, we stand on the shoulders of many who went to battle and never came home. They said goodbye to their mothers, they said goodbye to their fathers, they said goodbye to their sisters and brothers. They left small towns, large cities, careers, schools, farms. They came from all over this great land and went off to war. They said they would return. And we all prayed, and we all hoped, and we all worked that one day they would return. But sadly, many did not return. A vast armada of servicemen and women are buried at the bottom of an ocean somewhere. Some lay buried on the battlefields where they fell. Some are interned in cemeteries all across Europe. Some's graves are known only to God. 6,000 brave American patriots died in the American Revolution that birthed this country. 500,000 soldiers, men and women, died in the Civil War. 116,000 died in World War I, 400,000 died in World War II, 50,000 in Vietnam. A great sacrifice, an untold sacrifice, an almost unimaginable sacrifice. But yes, today we stand on their shoulders. I'm reminded of those 84 brave men and women right from here, Beadle County, who never came home. All gave some, and some gave all. Brigadier General Ted Spaulding went off to war. He went to the Philippines. They had to surrender when they were overwhelmed by huge forces of Japanese. And the Japanese marched them 65 miles of hell. It was the Bataan Death March. 17,000 died during the march or after the march. They marched that 65 miles to San Fernando, but that was just the beginning. That was just the beginning. Brigadier General Spaulding suffered in prisoner of war camps in the Philippines and in Korea and eventually in Japan. And he tells the story of the lack of food, the hunger, the lack of water, just a drop of water. He talks about, in his story, the brutality of the Japanese, how they would torture and beat the soldiers and sometimes just shoot them. Ted Spaulding lived to tell his story. And we stand on the shoulders of men like Ted Spaulding. We stand on other shoulders, too, that sometimes we forget. Sometimes we forget the shoulders of maybe a teacher, a coach, a guidance counselor, a pastor, or our parents. You see, I was born on the Standing Rock Indian Reservation. And things weren't too good at times. So the welfare agency came and got me and my brother. We were little boys. And they brought us to Huron, South Dakota. And they placed us in foster care. And one day, that foster lady was strolling my brother, Gary, and I down the street. And she ran into Mrs. Valesky. And she ran into Mrs. Pigney. And she said, you know, my husband and I are going on vacation, and we can't take care of these two little boys. We can't take them with us. She said, would one of you take one and one take the other? Oh, God in heaven. Thank God for Mrs. Valesky, who said, I'll take, what's this little boy's name? Ronnie? They call him Ronnie. I'll take Ronnie. Mrs. Pigney said, I'll take Gary. To make a long story short, we were adopted into those families and grew up across the street from each other. But you know what? You know what? Mrs. Valesky and Mrs. Pigney, they could have said, we're too busy. We have other things to do. We have plans of ourselves for vacation. But they didn't. They didn't. Out of pure love, they took us in. The brave men and women who have gone before into battle and have never come home, who gave their all, we must not let their heritage die in vain. We must live out the American spirit that they embodied. I don't know what those brave men were thinking when they got off those transport ships on D-Day, when they went on to Omaha Beach and Utah Beach and Sword Beach and Gold Beach and Juneau Beach. I don't know what they were thinking. But I do know that their actions proclaim the American spirit. And their actions proclaim, we are doing this for them. We are doing this for others. We are doing it for you and for me. And they did it. 10,000 American servicemen embarked those transports. 70% of them died on the beach. 290 tried to climb the scales, the cliffs of Hawk Dupont. Only 70 made it. The national cemeteries all across Europe, with their beautiful flowers, cannot cover the horrific price that was paid for freedom. And there's a cross there in France to the unknown soldier. Here our comrade in glory arms lies. his body known only to God. Great sacrifice. So, what's that tell us? What's that tell us about our responsibility as American citizens? Quite frankly, I'm somewhat disappointed this morning. Maybe they heard that I was going to be the speaker, so a lot of people didn't show up. But I'm quite disappointed this morning. This auditorium should be overflowing with people who are the beneficiaries, people who now live and continue to live in the land of the free and the home of the brave. This auditorium should be filled. Where are they? Have we forgotten? Have we forgotten the price that was paid that we can be free? How do we honor their spirit? How do we honor their spirit? We honor their lives that they gave by the lives that we lead. By the lives that we lead. Every time you vote, every time you worship your God, every time you engage in public discourse, civilly, every time you speak up, every time you attend a school board meeting, every time you volunteer to help your community, you're honoring their spirit. Every time you return love for hate, every time you return forgiveness for injustice, every time you return hope for helplessness, every time you think of others before you think of yourself, you're honoring the spirit that they died for. How are you leading your life? No greater love is this, that a man would lay down his life for his friends. And Jesus also said, love your neighbor as yourself. Who is my neighbor? The whole world is my neighbor. We have become a neighborhood through technology without becoming a brotherhood. Give of yourself to others. Support the ideals that the brave men and women fought and died for. All wrapped up in the Constitution, or the Pledge of Allegiance, or the Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal to pursue life, liberty, and justice. We as a nation must not, cannot forget the shoulders that we stand on. The shoulders that we stand on. Think of the shoulders that we stand on. For you who came today, I say, God bless you. And I say, God bless America.
Thank you, Ron. Boy Scout troops 151 and 222 will be doing the laying of the wreaths. And we will first start with the 4 chaplains. The wreath of hope. Grand Army of the Republic. The Women's Relief Corps. The Spanish-American War. World War I. World War I Auxiliary. World War II. Korean War. Vietnam War. Persian Gulf War and Operation Desert Storm. Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, and the War on Terrorism. The American Legion. The American Legion Auxiliary. '40 and 8. '8 and 40. Veterans of Foreign Wars. Veterans of Foreign Wars Auxiliary. Marine Corps League. Disabled American Veterans. Disabled American Veterans Auxiliary. Navy Wives Club of America. South Dakota National Guard. Lost at Sea. And Unknown from All Wars. And now we have some special music.
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairie, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you for that beautiful music. The Huron Veterans Council would like to again thank all of you for being here with us today. Thank you to Scout Troops 151 and 222, plus their leaders for their contribution to our program. It is very much appreciated. Big thank you today to Mr. Ron Valesky for his words today. Thank you to everybody up in the sound booth, including Olaf Cruz and Miles Hofer for contributing their time. And a big thank you goes out to the staff of the Huron High School for allowing us the use of their beautiful facility. Thank you to the custodial crew for getting us in here early, getting the auditorium ready for us, and getting here early to let us in. Thank you to our music today. And finally, it is important for us to remember that the freedoms that we enjoy every day came at a great price: human sacrifice. We must always keep in mind that freedom is never free, and we thank those no longer with us who made this day possible. Let us all pledge to renew our dedication to the true meaning of this day. Let us all enjoy the lives we lead because of the generations of Americans who gave their lives for freedom, and continue to educate our children about the price paid for our freedoms. Please rise, if you are all able, for the benediction by Keith Zobolowski and the playing of taps by Jake Salathi and the retiring of colors.
Thank you for that, Taylor. I just want to say it's kind of hard to follow a speech from Ron's thing, but all I can basically say, I wish we could have had more young people there. They really don't experience what the elderly generation faced, where most of us are all World War II, Vietnam, Korean families and stuff like that. All I can leave you with is get a hold as a family group. Let's get together and let's communicate. Let's get off our phones and communicate. If you have a chance to visit with people this afternoon at a picnic or whatever the case may be, or catch a movie, which would be a good thing, sit and talk with your kids. Ask them, you have any questions that you would like to know that is understanding. Get in touch with the older generation. They are filled with a lot of information, and you need to know. I graduated high school back in the 60s, and you either went to college or you waited for your number of the draft. The kids today, they don't have that little bit of fear that, oh, gee, they're going to get drafted and go. So we kind of laid back a little bit there, too. We've kind of lost touch with reality. I came 13 years ago from Long Island, New York, and I witnessed, well, from Long Island, I could see the smoke from the Twin Towers the day that those towers went down on a clear, beautiful day. We let our guard down. Let's not let our guard down ever again, okay? All those people, well, before we give benediction, we didn't get a chance to acknowledge them. We are standing right now. I'd like to know anybody here that's out there that is in the military, at least give a wave to the hand. Let us acknowledge your service and your dedication to this country. If you are a veteran there, just let people know that and give thanks. We thank you for your service. If you have a hat, please uncover. Dear Lord, we thank you for our nation today, and we are free to worship, and we are free to pray. Don't give that away. And we are free to read your word. We are free to speak, and we are free to share, and we are allowed to protest peacefully. And for this, we are incredibly grateful, yet we understand how quickly these freedoms can be taken away. Give us an increased awareness of your spiritual battles within, and help us to stand strong and for your purposes. We thank you as believers that we can assure you that we will never leave us and that you're always with us, and in this life and the next. And stay standing for the taps. Remain standing for the retiring of the colors.
I'm Taylor Jans, the Beadle County Veteran Service Officer, and this concludes our program for today. Thank you for being with us this morning and have a wonderful afternoon.